Jiu-Jitsu fans, I am being joined by the one and only Tubby Amanda Alequin, and she is coming off of a big win against the number 5 ranked Alex Enriquez in a flyweight bout at WNO 18. Wow, Amanda, you have had quite the week and the lead up, and the dogs are cheering for you in the background as well.
Nancy, usually my husband is home, but let me go ahead and mute you for a second. Hold. Thank you. So we have 2 bunnies, 5 dogs, and like 20 something chickens. Yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh. And did I
yeah.
hear correctly? Are you guys vegan or vegetarian?
So my husband is like plant-based. So he does eat honey. We do have chickens. They give us eggs. We eat eggs and stuff. I eat seafood. Just recently, I did try some steak at my dad's house, and I did like it. But ultimately, I like literally tried like a slice, and I was just like, I still like fish. Like I still like seafood. Eric usually goes fishing, so he catches me like fresh fish, and I love, 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 love it fresh, like baked or fried or however, like filleted.
Yes.
And he grew up fishing, so he knows how to like scale them, gut them, and all.
Tubby Alequin is joining us, and she is coming off of a big win against Alex Enriquez. Now we're looking at those rankings. It's hard to know exactly where you'll place, but because you beat the number 5 seed, you could be looking at that third or fourth ranking. So what do you think is going to be next for you in terms of where you are in the rankings?
Honestly, I normally don't pay attention to that stuff. I usually have like my students that send me that stuff, and I'm like, wow, I guess that's like a pretty big deal, you know? Like let me look into that more. But I don't know where it's gonna place me or where that leads as far as like future opponents. But I'm ready for 115 or 125. You know, I want to. I just recently asked for Misa in the gi. Maybe if she wants to go and run it back again at 115, I'll meet her there. So that would be a good match. I want a gi match.
Yeah, so we look at some of the people in the top 5, and I know you got some roles in with Jasmine Hosha. But are there any other, like you faced Brianna St. Marie before you took that year break off. So what was going on in the time you took off? Was it injury related or why did you take so much time off not competing?
So I had signed with one, and I originally was gonna do like my debut match. I believe it was in July or June, and I accepted the match like on a 6 week notice, but I didn't have like any of the qualifications that I needed to enter the country. So I thought 6 weeks was enough. Me thinking they offered me this match in such a time frame, I thought I had enough time. But
Mhm.
then it became an issue with some of the qualifications needed to enter their country. So it was due to medical reasonings, but it was, yeah. So that got postponed, and it was supposed to be postponed for September. Yeah, September was the next one. So I was, ready. Again, this is like a big deal for me. This is like one of the most biggest up and coming organizations. And I was like training, just focused on this, preventing anything, any type of injury, any type of anything like from happening, just making sure I got there healthy, especially because I was the reason why we had to postpone the first match. And that, I don't like doing that. I don't like pulling out of matches. And I had a match set up with Jessica Khan because that was my opponent. I had a match set up with her in June, or yeah, June the year prior, and I had a knee injury. It was a gi match, and I had to pull out, and I felt horrible. So this time around, I was like, no, I'm not pulling out. Like, I want this match. I faced her in the Who's Number One in September recently, but I was like, we all grow, from losses, especially like hardcore competitors like her. So like, I want to see what she's got next because I've seen her compete, So I was like, I know she's got a good guard, she's got good passing, she's very, very tight when she passes pressure passes. So I was like, I want to feel that, So I want this match. And it just kept getting postponed. And after the third time, they scheduled it for November. I forgot what was the reasoning for September. I think she had a super fight. And then in November, they said that she was doing the World. So they postponed it again. And then they told me, oh, it was like October, November. It was scheduled for November. And then in October, they told me, oh, like, we're going to have to postpone your match again. So, yeah, at that point, I was like, dude, I want whoever at this point. I was like, just give
Yeah.
me a 125 match or 115. Like, I want whichever match.
And Jessica, you
Honest.
have faced before, and that was your like quickest submission in WNO women's history, right?
Yeah. So
Wow.
it was a good match, but I was like, man, that ended quickly. At the end of the day, it was a big platform. I was nervous. I was excited but nervous too. So I can only imagine how she felt. So I was like, I know, when we face again, she's only grown from that. But yeah. So just matches. My match was getting postponed. That's why I took such a year off. And then finally, December Worlds, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go out there after they told me in October they didn't have anything planned until the new year. I kind of just like let off, lay low, chill, because I felt like I was going so hard preparing for these matches and keeping my weight down because they do the hydration test and it was at 115. So, I'm like
Oh,
5'4", 5'5". So keeping my weight, I don't like cutting weight. So I was making sure I was keeping my weight around like 117, 118, just hydrated, feeling good, but it was still difficult. So
yeah,
yeah,
that is
so
so light of a weight. I feel like you walk around at a very low body fat percentage. When you started out your jujitsu journey, which I want to know when was that exactly? Were you already ripped, or did it help you lose weight and kind of figure out that you could be a certain level of shredded and still feel really good?
yeah, no, I actually, I started when I was 15, August of '09, and I had just turned 15, and I was like, let me just try it out. So I've been doing it for a while. It wasn't until just yesterday I did an interview with Grappling Insider, and they asked me like kind of to give like a rundown of like my career. And when I got to 2018, it kind of like blurred out. I was kind of like, what happened in 2018? So like as I thought about it, I was like, damn, in 2018 I lost a lot. I was like, I lost a lot of matches, bro, in close matches, but I lost like every match that I had. And it was so crazy because in my head, I'm like, I try to block that part out of like my mental memory. But when I sat there and he
Yeah.
asked me and I was going through everything, I even said, I was like 2018, I don't remember much of 2018. Like, and then I realized I was like, man, I lost a lot during that year. And I remember one match specifically, like it was in middleweight because I used to compete middleweight. I was in the middleweight division going against and Andresa Sintra, and it was the final for like our division, and like match was tied. The score was tied, and in the last 2 seconds, as I was coming up from 50-50, she did this like weird leg lock, and my kneecap popped in and out. So I like went ah, I like literally like yelped and like kept going, and the ref separo, and I was like fuck, because like I literally yelped but try to keep going. At that point, like the ref was already looking at me and yelped, but I was like God damn it, and 2 seconds left on the clock, man. I got basically, she
Oh,
got, yeah, because I basically tapped by screaming. It was crazy. It was
yeah.
scary though,
But
because
in
my kneecap went bloop, bloop. I was like, ah, it was
Oh
fun. It was
God.
crazy. Yeah, it was crazy.
So the
But
middleweight division is
yeah,
140, 145 is
but
lightweight. And then what?
152 in the gi, 152 in the gi. So I used to
Okay,
cut
so
to
you
make
were
152
heavier.
in the gi. Yeah, so like I was like, man, thinking back on that, I was like, I was in the middleweight 2018, and that's when I like really, I made some drastic changes. Like I merged our business, like me and my husband's business. We merged it with another gym, um, and then towards the end of that year, like we had our own gym, we had our own place, our own little warehouse. And then something happened with the building. They sold the whole building, like the whole piece of land. So we ended up just merging with this gym. Palm Beach Boxing was Palm Beach. Shout out to them. And towards the end of that year, I even quit my daytime job and went basically like 2018 towards the end. Is that's when I like made a realization. I was like, dude, if I want to make it in this, I have to be 100% in this. Like
Yeah.
I had so many people kept telling me like, oh, you gotta pick. You can't do both. You can't do both. I'm
What
like,
was
I
your
could
day
do
job?
both. And I work at a vet clinic, at Shores Animal Clinic. Yeah. So
Oh,
everyone was like, you can't do both. You can't do both. And I'm like, I could do both. But I was also doing a
yeah.
lot more on the side. I have so many animals to take care of, like the training, the teaching, like all that stuff. And at that time, I was running a kids program and all that good stuff. So adult program, advanced program. So it was a lot, but I was like, I can do it. And then finally, I was like, you know what? My husband kept telling me the same thing. He was like, wherever your focus goes, energy flows. Like you have to focus your energy where you want to be great at. So that's when the end of 2018, I was like, you know what? He's right. I can't keep spending all this money going out to compete, like risking showcasing my jujitsu. Yeah, I have great jujitsu and I'm technical, but I lose. So towards the end of 2018, I made those changes, and then I started to like make the transition to start losing weight. And it's the losing weight thing is a funny story, and I don't want to put her on blast, but I had a friend that I was training with, and we were lifting weights together, and she came up to me and she was like, "Hey, can I give you some advice?" And I was like, "Oh man, okay. What's your advice?" And she was like, "You're a good athlete. You have great jujitsu." And then she like kind of like pulled on my stomach, and she was like, "But you can lose like 15 or 20 pounds." She was like, when you're out of shape and you're not in shape and you're teaching fitness, it's like a fat guy teaching CrossFit. And I was just like, oh, okay, stab, heart. And after that day, I swear to you, it was like a 360. I was just like, okay, changing now. It starts now. So I started getting like more stricter on like my eating habits and stuff. And I got down to like 145, 140. So I was able to do lightweight. I started to do lightweight division. And then COVID, 2019, I competed like 13, 14 times. I felt like I had a good run. Like I think I won 8 out of like the 13 matches I did, 8 or 9.
Wow.
But the ones I lost to were like to Gabby McComb, Hanette Stack, and it was all by decision on like fight to win and stuff. And yeah, so I felt like I had a good run, and then COVID started, and I lost my smell and taste in the beginning of July, and I
Oh
literally
my
lost my smell and
gosh.
taste for a whole year. And like
Oh my gosh. Holy
yeah,
shit.
yeah, yeah, it was horrible, dude. It was so. I still remember like everything smelled the same, and that's what freaked me out, and that's why I was eating such a bland diet. I was like, I wasn't healthy at that time. I was working out, but I was not healthy. Like I tell people, dude, I was surviving off of whatever I could taste. I was like, me and Jolly Ranchers had an unhealthy relationship. Like if Jolly Ranchers could sponsor me at that time, I was heavy on Jolly Ranchers because there were moments where I would get a hint of like the flavor of the candy, and I was like, God damn it, I could taste,
Oh my
but it wasn't. Yeah,
gosh.
it was so short
So that's
lasted.
when
But
you
yeah,
probably got down to like 130-ish
feather.
pounds by.
I got down to like featherweight. I started to get down to like 129. Yeah, like but for sure for that whole year, it was I was just like not not having it. I love food, but I was just like, what's the point? Like you can't taste it. Like I love peanut butter, and peanut butter. It's so bad to say, but like peanut butter, coffee, and dog poop, for example, all smelled the same. Like that's why I wouldn't eat it. I wouldn't do it. Like, I just couldn't. Like I'm like, why did cilantro? I love cilantro, and cilantro smelled like dog poop, and dog poop smelled like peanut butter, and it was all one chemical smell, and I couldn't get rid of it. And I thought I was alone, and I saw a post about it of some people like having similar issues, and some guys I know still don't have their smell, like, and they're fine with it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. But that was crazy times, and I ended up getting it back because I tried everything in the book. I'm talking about chamomile tea, like doing the orange thing, like everything, ginger,
That's
spicy foods.
insane.
Yeah, my husband got his back before I did, or at least he says he does. I don't know, but I know I didn't, and it
Well,
was
it
very
seems like
traumatic.
it puts you on the right track at least a little bit because you started probably eating more of a bland diet and only eating the foods that you
Yeah,
really needed to fuel you for training
yeah,
because now you're competing pretty consistently at 125 and then you're willing to go down to 150 as well versus competing at 150s and in middleweight. So
yeah,
that's crazy
yeah.
that you were able to make that transition. Tell me about how competition is probably a big fuel for that because with a lighter weight, you might get, quicker opponents, but they're lighter. So now you can kind of work your game a little bit differently. And also, did any of the weight loss influence your style? Because I know you like to say that you're a guard puller, but you're still implementing wrestling more and wanting to learn to wrestle, but you still view yourself as a guard puller. So does that have to do with like you like losing weight now and being a little bit smaller, or have you always just liked playing guard?
Oh no, I've always loved playing guard. Like there was a period where when I was a purple belt, where my dad and my husband would just drill me like, open your guard. Like they would at tournaments, I would lose just because I'd sit in close guard and just like space out and just try to fight from close guard. And they're like, just open it, just open your guard and play open guard, and I wouldn't. And then once I like started training more with my husband, that's when I started to do more no-gi. And no-gi really like helped me with open guard, using my hooks more, like having to rely more on my body and not on grips per se, like for in jiu-jitsu. But yeah, but the weight loss really didn't help. If anything, it didn't bad. Like it wasn't a bad effect. It was really actually it helped me, you know. So when it came down to like weightlifting, I was still lifting the same weight, but just getting like faster at it. I don't know, jiu-jitsu was kind of like a good marriage with when I was doing CrossFit. And like at that time I was going to CrossFit, I think it was CrossFit El Cid. I think it's still CrossFit El Cid. I forgot what it was called before. But I was going there and like it was cool because a lot of the high intensity like training was good with the jiu-jitsu that I was doing. So it was like perfect marriage. And I felt like as I was shedding the weight, I was still pulling the same weight. Because I was also very conscious. I hurt my back like in like 2014 deadlifting. So I was very, very always aware of the weight that I was putting on the weights and stuff like that, trying to stay to like 65, 95 pounds when it came to like the workouts and stuff. But yeah, I feel like if anything, it helped me out. Yeah, and then in my circuit training and stuff, like the opponents are smaller and it is harder to like gauge the space and closing the space. But I feel like I do a good job at doing like my lifts and stuff. I focus on like strength and all my lifts. I try to focus on everything. So sometimes I'll be out there in my backyard for like an hour and a half because I'll focus on like a good warm up, like a functional warm up, and then I'll do power. And then I'll focus on like heavy lifts. Either I'm loading or I'm focusing like on functional heavy lifting, like single leg stuff. And then I do circuits. I do like 2 10-minute circuits. And when I do the circuits, I do them 20 seconds on, 10 seconds on. So it's 20 seconds of work with 10 seconds in between. It's 4 exercises. And
so it's like it's
the only break you pretty much get. Yes, and the only break you pretty much get is like running to the next station, but it's high intense like exercises. So it's not like you're just lifting, curling a weight. You're like frog jumps with the ball. You're doing push-ups with the roll. You're doing band jumps with a like side to side bands with band around your knees and stuff. So it's a lot of just like explosive and then calm, explosive and then calm. And if you notice in my matches, that's how like I usually am. I'm like a teeter-totter. I like to push, pull, constantly going, like harassing. So I don't know. I feel like I keep a good balance. So I feel like the transition wasn't that bad. You know, if anything, I just had to focus more on gauging, closing in the space. Like I said in my last match, like keeping my hips too high when passing. That's something I've always had an issue with because I like to bulldoze in with my head when I pass, when I pressure. So it's, you know, it's a work in progress.
I love that. Your style is so entertaining to watch, and that makes sense that your strength and conditioning translate to your game on the mats because damn, Alex Enriquez, she's really good. That opening sequence when she is trying to take your back and then you Granby, and then you're able to escape her really quick. I was like, okay, this is about to be a fast-paced back and forth freaking match between you guys. And so tell me about when you look at WNO rule set, because you've competed in a bunch of different rule sets. You've done ADCC, you've won the 2015 trials. So what is it about WNO rule set that you try to strategize for? Because it's different from ADCC. So when you look at a match like this, what is kind of the game plan going in?
So it's always, honestly, I'm always try to finish, like submission. I just get a little too crazy sometimes. Like I switch from back and forth. I don't try to settle in the position. And I just get overly excited. And I do that in training a lot too. Especially when I'm excited, like I'm in the moment, I'm aware, like I'm having a good time. And I'm not saying it happens all the time because there's times where I've still competed and I've blanked out and I'm like, damn, I wasn't aware, I wasn't in it, in tune, you know? Mm-hmm. But this time I was in tune. Like I feel like everything was just falling into place. But sorry, I blanked out. What was the question again?
Just how your style is so quick, constantly going from one thing to another, even if it means that you might put yourself in a not so great position. Like you're willing to risk take it. The team you play for, or the team you train under, they call themselves the gamblers, right? Like I feel like your style is always gambling.
Yeah, no, I don't train with the gamblers anymore. Actually, they posted up that picture as soon as I walked out on the mat. And I looked up at that picture and I was like, all the tie-dye pictures they used, and they used that picture. I was like, dude, I haven't been with gamblers since like last year of January, February. So
So now it's
yeah, I was
people's
like
jujitsu.
the people's jiu-jitsu. Yeah, we're out in West Palm Beach, downtown West Palm Beach. Yeah,
Both cool
we're doing
names. I
our own
like
thing.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like we're for the people, bro. Like that's what keeps me going. Like that's who we serve. Like as the community, we're here to complete our job and our duty, and that's like to keep everyone together, to help the kids, like stay off the streets, and like to engage in the martial artist way. Like it's the way. Especially nowadays where a lot of like kids are growing up in broken homes and stuff, and they need us more than ever. So it's like and there's a lot of things going on with kids in the school system. That's a whole nother story. But I work with for the public school and private schools here in West Palm, so I'm big on like the anti-bullying and stuff like that, and
Oh, I
working with the
love
kids.
that.
So yeah, but for sure, like for the who's number one like rule set, I know like my style is like crazy and stuff. At the end of that match, like when I went and tried to do that jump in my head, it was gonna go different. I was gonna slide my leg over completely and land in like side control, and then I ended up half-assing that jump and at the end of the match, I heard them say, "Oh, it almost cost her the match." But realistically, I was still like, man, my conditioning felt so good. I was still just so like, there's no way that she was gonna outwork me. I just, it was crazy. Like off rip, I want to say 3 minutes into the match of just standing with her, I could start to hear her breathing heavy, and at that moment, I was kind of like, I've
Little technical difficulties, but Tubby Alequin should be back on shortly. Yeah, so where were we? We were just talking about this last match and how you could hear Alex Enriquez breathing within the first few minutes. And that's the moment you kind
Yeah,
of
that
knew,
yeah,
oh, I
I
got
feel
this
like
in the
I was
bag.
just like
I did the
more
work.
conditioned in that sense. I was like, okay. And all I kept thinking was like stick to the plan. That was like our little thing, like stick to the plan, because I knew that she was preparing for me when we fought back in December, and she kept mentioning it, and I was like, man, that's the chink in your armor. Like you're telling me that all you did was practice one position, so I knew like that's when I was kind of like, okay, I think I prepared well for this match, but I knew she was preparing for like one dimensional Tubby like in December. So just doing one position, trying to force my reverse De La Hiva. So this time, like when I started off the match and I started to feel her like tire down, I was like, okay, stick to the plan. It's gonna work. Stick to the plan. So yeah, so I just felt like I was in the moment. It was good, and I know I got crazy towards the end, but I was trying to like bring my hip over and land in side control. It just didn't go as like planned out. But yeah, I was like
It still looks so cool.
yeah,
We
I was
need
like
more
in
of
no
that. Just
position
go
though, in
for
no
it.
way like did I feel threatened at all. Even when she was trying to go for my back, I was like, man, I've trained for this because I've had guys just go to like to take me down, and same thing. I would end up like scrambling, not wanting to give up just the takedown. So I would end up scrambling just like that Granby rolls. And while I was out there, I was almost having like deja vu. I was like, okay, I've trained this. I've trained the same position. Like when I was on top and I was keeping her head, her spine concave. Like I did all of that, like the headlocks and stuff, looking at her elbow placement, shooting in the darts, just going for like side control and shoulder pressure and stuff. I was trying to force double unders, so it's like everything I did in training, it was crazy. So I was like, it all worked out.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy that you feel like did everything that you need to do and then you get that type of performance. Can you talk about being a competitor and sometimes wanting to just get the dust off, like you said, when you went into Nogi Worlds, I think 6-ish months ago? Because sometimes as a competitor, like you obviously always want to go in to win, but sometimes you don't have enough time to do as much as you maybe would prefer to do, or maybe it's a short notice call. So can you tell us about the times where you haven't had the maximum time to prep and competition is just not
Yeah, so it's
what
like going.
what your
If I
potential
know if
is?
I didn't fully prepare for a match, I don't. I know it sucks going in with that mindset, but it's like I'll go in with the mindset of expecting the results that I worked for. Like if I win, great. But if I don't win, it's like being already aware that I just didn't put in the work I should have. Before I even beat myself up when I lose and like, oh, you didn't work hard enough. Now it's like, okay, now you know what you need to work on. So there were times where I did put in the work and I showed up and I still lost and I was like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? But it was, just trying to get over that hump and just not living in that moment, not living in the past, and just keep moving forward. And the only way to look back is just to grow. Like if I'm looking to improve, like, oh, when did I do that same mistake? Let me go back and check this video. When I lost this time, I did that same thing. So it's just learning to accept that if I put in the work or not before a tournament. If I didn't, then I don't expect already before I even lose, like I said, I don't try to beat myself up so much after. I just kind of already accepted, like, hey, if you lose, you know, you know why. Now let's see what we need to work on to get where we need to be. And if I win, then I'm just like, well, that's great. Don't get comfortable. Now, like if you're at this level winning, then imagine what you can do at the potential of your training. So it's like both pros, both cons. It still sucks going out there not knowing.
Yes, and you've definitely, yeah, but you still managed to get it done. It seems like in very clutch moments. And it's a big reason why Flow Grappling keeps having you on to WNO, but also your background with ADCC, winning the 2015 ADCC East Coast Trials. I think that year it was Mackenzie Dern who went with the minus 60 kg. Did she win? She
Yeah,
won the
yeah.
whole
That
ADCC
was a
that
good
year.
performance then.
And so what do you think about a competitor like her? She's coming off of a big win with Angela Hill. Have you guys faced each other a lot in the past? And what can you say about like her
No,
style
I for
is a
sure.
big strength
Mackenzie's
of
always
hers?
someone like I've looked up to, but always for sure I've always wanted a match with. It's never fell through. I know that we trained one time for like I would say like 6 minutes maybe in the gi in Abu Dhabi at the World Pro one time when we were all together in the mats were all full of the training area. It was crazy because you had like Gabby, Andre, Lloyd Irvin, like the whole squad was there. It was Shanji and his crew. Like it was pretty cool. Like Octavio, like it was insane those times. My dad was there with me and we got to share those moments. It was pretty cool. But like I think I rolled with her for like 6 minutes in the gi and she was a brown belt and I was a purple belt at the time. And it was like a pretty good, really good 6 minutes.
Wow.
And then that was the only time. And after that I think I've gotten asked like between a name of like three girls of who I wanted to go against and she was like my pick for all three times and all three times it just didn't go through. So I never asked. I was just like, whoever you have, just give me. But she was
Oh,
someone I would love to go against, whether one wants to put it on or whoever wants to put it on. That's someone that I would love a match against. With all due respect, she's an
that's
overall like
awesome. That's
she's
freaking awesome.
she's a well-rounded like grappler. She's got great top game. She's got great bottom game. She's got good
Yes.
defense, like hand fighting, wrestling. Like she's good all over. So she's on her.
And when you look at the now the 2022 ADCC champion Fionn Davis, what do you like about her game? And at this point, since you're competing more at 125, 115, do you ever look at matches that would be at 135, 145, or like is a match against Fionn
Oh
something
no,
that
for
would
sure. If she's
kind
willing
of be
to meet like
enticing
at
to you?
125, then for sure. She's another one who's well-rounded. Like great top game, great bottom game, and she's got great stand-up. Like she's also too well-rounded. And not saying that there's not many girls like that are there are many girls that are well-rounded in the sport, but for them to just make it look so like flawless, like they have such a good sequence to their training, like it's a good rhythm. But yeah, I would love a match against her if she's willing to. And again, I'm willing to face anyone like even higher weight. I don't mind. Like I don't mind really. I really don't. And for sure, I would love to be compensated for it too as well. But I definitely do not mind fighting higher weights.
Yeah, I mean, those are obviously, I guess it just puts the epitome of jujitsu on a platform like, oh, the smaller person should be able to take a bigger
Yeah.
opponent in jujitsu. Like that's kind
And
of
like
a
I
lot
feel
of
like
the
it's not really
storylines coming
strength. Like I
in,
feel like
which I
whenever I'm
love.
beaten, it's always for a technicality, like or a tactical issue. Like in my mind, I'm like, I train with guys every day. I train with
Hmm.
like the smallest guy I would say in my gym is probably 150, 155, not even probably 160. And he's like my main training partner. And it's like, that's the smallest one there. So I should have no excuse going against girls 135, 145. So strength doesn't play a
Wow.
factor into it realistically. It's about technique. So it's like when I get beaten by that, and I've gotten beaten by bigger girls, whether submitted or just like, them passing my guard, it's always been for a technical error on my part. So I just don't believe the whole weight thing is an issue. And again, I have Napoleon syndrome. So
Yeah. Did you
I
have a
actually like
match
I swear to you,
against?
I'll look at a girl that's like 150 or like some of my girls are 160 and they're taller, and like I'm like we're pretty good. We're not that big size of a difference. And they're like, "Are you kidding me? I would crush you." And I'm like, "No, you wouldn't. Like we're exactly the same size. We're like, what size jeans you wear? We're probably the same size, Like that's in my head. So it's crazy."
Yeah, I mean, you had a
Hmm.
match with Kendall Roosing before, or did
Yeah,
I not hear that? Wow, like that's crazy. So you've been doing a lot of absolute
yeah,
divisions
yeah. Hmm.
your whole
For
jujitsu
sure.
career.
Oh, I would definitely be one to jump in.
Wow.
Always.
And when you do those absolute divisions, do you not want to do like wrestling type stuff? Are you immediately trying to pull
I
guard or
usually
counter
try to feel
wrestle?
it out. Like
What's your strategy
I'll
there?
usually feel like if they're actually trying to engage in a takedown, then I'm like, oh no, I don't want to deal with this bull. So I'll go ahead and just pull guard. But if they're like kind of like the dancer type that kind of relies on just like the push pull, like foot sweeps and stuff, then I kind of like stand a little, play with them a little, and then pull guard, tire them out, and then pull guard and
Yeah.
then try to do a lot of open guard. But yeah, I've tried to fill them out.
Wow, it's so fascinating to me that pulling guard for you is still like something.
Yeah.
I don't know, it feels like your safe haven, but to me it's just like even when you pull guard, they're still on top of you somewhat. Like you need to be really good at your sweeps. So was that something that you focused on throughout your earlier belts, like white and blue, just getting really good at certain
Yeah,
sweeps
I
that
was
you know you
honestly
can
a closed
always
guard. Like I
rely
said,
on?
it was hard for me to open up my guard, so I was doing just a lot of closed guard or like I was doing the teens and the when I was a blue belt, I was still 16. So I was doing like the teens division, 16, 17. So I was doing the teens and the women's division. So I was like really, really all over the place, just like side control sprawled out, my legs all over the place in a full blown headlock, grabbing someone's head, like crazy. So not really technical there. So I didn't have any really go to sleeps. Again, I noticed that like a lot of my matches I would black out. I wasn't again in tune. I wasn't like in the moment. I wasn't present. So like I would go out there and compete and then I wouldn't know what I did. I would have to look back on footage and yeah, yeah. So
On
it's like now it's
autopilot.
crazy because I was
Yeah.
talking about this yesterday and I'm like I feel like now as a black belt, I feel like I'm finally starting to find that like figuring to be in the moment and like addressing like the situation in front of me versus just going off of reaction on autopilot. Just whatever feels natural to me. Like now I'm actually sitting there like, oh, don't do that collar tie, switch to a frame, Oh, hands coming through, like gotta switch my head out, start to kazoo, like push over, get an off balance going. So it's like it's now I'm trying to like be more tactical and being aware in the moment versus everyone would ask, oh, like how do you recover your guard so well? What are some of the drills you do? And I'm like, what I do out there? Like, what was it? Like, I wouldn't remember until I watched the video, and I'm like, how am I supposed to create my own brand if I don't even know what I'm doing when I'm out there? So that's what I was kind of like, I gotta get better at that. I gotta get better at being in the moment, being in tune, like knowing what I'm doing, like being aware of like how I'm doing my setups because I see a common thing in my setups sometimes, like when I set up my triangles and stuff from bottom in the midst of the scramble, I'm like, I'm seeing how I'm setting it up and I'm starting to break it down versus before everyone asks me, what drills do you do? And I'm like, I don't know how I get there. I just get there, dude. Like I'm flexible, like when in reality, I'm like, wow, I'm actually setting them up. I'm getting them to post both of their hands on the mat and then shooting in my
Yeah.
triangle. Like, so just little things like that I'm starting to work on.
Yeah, no, that's crazy that, and definitely the next level to this shit is being aware of the things that you're doing. And also, I'm sure you do a little bit of teaching. I know your husband does some teaching and has students. So being able to like explain back the things that you're doing and also working with other people in the combat sports world. I know you're going to be working a little bit with Julian Robertson, who has the most submissions in the flyweight division in the UFC. She's trying to do it again in the strawweight division. So how important is it going to be able to, I guess not important, but how helpful is it to be able to work with girls like that in the South Florida area and be able to just, grind all day, even in a kind of MMA sphere as well?
Oh yeah, no, I've actually trained with her in the past, and she's a killer, dude. Like she's one girl that I will 100% like tip my hat off to because I'm like, she's a dog, bro. She's got that dog in her. she will never back down from training. She'll never give up mid-roll. Like she will fight you to the end, to her last breath. Like I like training with her. I'm supposed to, like I told you about, like right now I'm going through some dental issues. Shout out to the Jolly Rancher obsession I had during 2020.
No.
So I might having to get a tooth pulled. So I'm hoping that that's not the case, and I can actually go train with her sometime next week. But right now I'm trying to work on this, and if not, then I might have to be out for like a week or two. And I know her bout's coming up in 4 or 5 weeks, so I'm trying to go get some work in with her now after I had this match, because I also have something lined up too as well coming up in 2 months. So I want to get working with her as much as I can. And she's facing the opponent she's facing now is the opponent I faced for my first match at Worlds and Nogi World.
Oh,
So I was
wow.
just like, I was like, it'll be a good matchup for her. Like I said, I've trained with her in Nogi, like grappling, and she's got it. So I'm excited to hopefully get some work in with her.
Yeah, she'd definitely be a good training partner. You basically have a live-in training partner and coach watching everything that you do, everything that you should be working on for certain opponents. So how helpful is it that your husband is also in the PFL, living the combat sports mindset and able to help you out when you maybe don't see things about your game that he does?
Oh no, it's great. Honestly, like he keeps me in check. Like he's someone that like just keeps me aware and keeps me in check. That's the best way I could describe it. Because he'll tell me if I'm falling off. Like he was like, "Hey, you need to get on your shit." Like he's like, "You playing around, you know." So like I'll get on it and stuff like that. So it's great. It's great having someone telling me, even though sometimes I don't like hearing it. And there are some times on the
Mhm.
mats where I'm like I swear to you, if I was a dog and I had a shock collar, especially during like training for this match, it was like constantly just him buzzing me. It was.
Wow, yeah.
There were times where I did get 2D with him on the mat, and he's just like, you listen to your coach. Like he reminds me, like, hey, in this moment, I'm your coach. I'm not your husband, and I'm just like, God damn it, because we had like a talk, especially like over the past years, it was weird to find that balance of like respect between finding that line of like coach and husband. But now we're starting to find the balance, and I'm starting to accept a lot of his criticism on the mat and stuff and take it with a grain of salt. But it's not easy, but for sure, it's damn sure helpful. Because, like I said,
Yeah.
a lot of people like to blow smoke up your ass in training. They're like, oh, you're so great, blah, blah, blah. But he's someone that, like, oh, you lost this during the roll. Like, oh, you could have done it. You could have finished 2 minutes ago. Like, he's someone that would just keep me entwined with what I'm supposed to be doing,
And so
being
is he
aware.
your head coach? Like when you compete, he's the main person talking to you.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. And then when
Yeah.
he fights
Yeah.
for PFL, do you go in his corner or do you
So
stay in
I
the
have
audience stance?
So I have cornered a lot of other fighters before, but for him, he's asked me, and like, there's always been times where I've tried to find ways to get out. Like, no, 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 I gotta cook your food. Like, I gotta make your weighing food. Sorry, I can't do it. Like, oh no, like it's different, and he knows what I feel because he feels what I feel when I go out and compete. Like, he feels it too. So,
Yeah.
like, I can't do it. I feel like my heart sinks. I had to curl up into like a ball, like a fetal position. I literally feel like I'm dying. It's crazy. Like I tell him, I lose feeling in my legs. Call it an adrenaline spike. Like it's every time he fights, I'm curled up in a corner watching it on the laptop. Just like can't feel my
Yeah.
inside. My stomach feels heavy. So yeah,
How long
I
have you
get
guys
super
been
nervous.
together?
So we've been together for 12 years. It's gonna be 12 years together and 9 years married in
Oh
December.
my gosh. That's
Yeah,
so freaking
yeah,
long that you guys have been together and you guys met in the
yeah.
jiu-jitsu world or something else?
Yeah, through the jujitsu. So it's crazy because even when I was
Oh,
like a teen, he's been in the jujitsu scene just as long as I have been. I think a year longer. But even when I was a teen, I would see him in the background of my video. This is later, years later on, where I'm watching like my blue belt videos and stuff, and my white belt, my orange belt videos, and I see him in the background. But we just never knew each other. We didn't talk to each other. Like we
yeah.
weren't ever on anyone's radar. So it was crazy. It was crazy. I was like, it's crazy how life works, Like it was almost like we were almost meant to come across. It was crazy the way everything just happened. I took a match here in
Yes.
Palm Beach Gardens. Man, I want to say like towards the end of the year. It was close to like October. It was close to like the holidays. And I remember after that, like he sent me a message and told me I did a good job. And I kind of just like blew it off, It was like, oh, thank you, blah, blah, blah. And then I had competed again at another tournament like a month later, and I ended up losing the absolute to like a bigger girl, a bigger opponent. Her name was Greta, and she was a bigger girl, big blue belt, and just by the name, she was a big
Yeah.
girl, a strong, strong girl, like a power lifter. And again, me having the issue with opening up my guard, the open guard. So I had lost in the final for the absolute. So later on that day, he had wrote to me again, and this time, like, I had everyone writing to me that day, like, oh, like you did such a great job, blah 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 blah. And this time he wrote to me and he was like, oh, you lost that match because you didn't use your legs enough for spider guard. Like he said something smart. So I was like, who the fuck is this? I was like, who do you think you are? Like I was like offering, like he like caught like I was like, okay, rude, So like I went to check the message, and after that I was like, oh, thanks for your tip, blah blah blah. So yeah, and then shortly after that, my sister knew one of his friends and had invited their squad to come train with our squad. And again, ironically, small world, he was a part of that squad. So when he came over to cross train, I was like, wow, this is you in person, Hi,
Wow. I love
So
it. Yeah, the
so
jiu-jitsu world especially is so small, but I even feel it like in the MMA world. Like everyone kind of knows each other. So that's so
yeah.
awesome that it ended up being such a beautiful relationship. Are you guys so you guys are married now? Do you guys have kids? Are you looking to have kids, or
Yeah, so
what
we do definitely
parents?
want to have kids. We definitely do want to have kids. Right now we have fur babies and like, the two
Oh,
rabbits and the chickens and stuff, but because I signed this contract with one, we're gonna wait for like another year or two and then start again there. But
that's
we
still
were
so
trying during
soon. Oh my
COVID.
gosh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But for sure, we definitely do. I know like for sure Super Mama on the mat is like also a goal. So I'm excited for that chapter in my life.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. I mean, I thought I saw on your Instagram page a picture of you holding a baby. So I was like, oh, maybe she already had one. And some people are like super
Uh,
quiet when they have kids. Like I know in the UFC in particular, like some UFC fighters don't talk at all about like their kids they have because like jujitsu is so different in MMA in the sense that MMA people will trash talk to levels that are so freaking
yes.
crazy. Whereas jujitsu people are very respectful. Like I know with you in your last match, you faced Alex Enriquez before, and it's you guys are still going to compete and go hard, but it's not really as much of this talk shit scene. So in that sense, do you think jujitsu will ever grow to be as big as MMA since there isn't as much of like a there are storylines, but they're not as big as the MMA ones yet. So do you think that jujitsu is going to be ever on the level of MMA?
I mean, I think it definitely has the potential to be up there, especially if they can coincide the two, like how one is doing, for example. It's actually giving like grappling a good exposure because the MMA fans see only like a glimpse of that sometimes during MMA bouts. So for them to see like a good foundation of MMA, like it's a good marriage. So for sure it could definitely become more professional and on that level. I feel like if they do that. But as far as the trash talking goes, it's kind of silly, because it's like, bro, say something about my mama. This ain't no grappling match no more. Like that's sorry, bro. Like you don't cross no lines of disrespect. Sorry, but that's just the way
That's so
my
true.
my mind is. So it's like you can't pay me enough. You disrespect me. This is no longer a grappling match. Like no, this is you take it to another level. So like there's levels to this, and I feel like in grappling you got to stay in your lane, bro. It's like once you get to trash talking or saying something you shouldn't, like you gotta expect to get hit or something. Like you gotta expect something to come back at you. Like you just can't run around and say stuff like that. So yeah, I feel like there's just
Yeah, I
levels to
mean,
it.
you definitely see a little hints of different drama that happens, but I don't know. It never really pours over so much in jujitsu, but I think that on the at least the guy side, we're starting to get closer. We're tiptoeing that line. So who knows? In 20 years, you might get some characters that were former WWE stars that randomly decide to do jujitsu, and it gets a little bit crazy. But
Yeah,
anyway, we
yeah,
only
right.
have a few more minutes left in this interview. So I wanted to give you a few moments to talk about what's coming up for you. If you have any sponsors or teammates or gyms you want to give a shout out, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I do have a match coming up. I can't disclose much about it, but just keep an eye out. I do have a match coming up in 2 months. I'm super excited for that. I want to thank the People's Jiu Jitsu out here in West Palm Beach. That's my squad. That is my program. ran by me and my husband. We're located in downtown West Palm Beach, right in the heart of West Palm Beach. If you guys ever want to visit our beautiful city, please let me know. I do have some extra rooms available. Y'all want to stay by? Just know, don't be no crazy people. But for sure, come and experience jiu-jitsu and some beach life and fun in the sun. Shout out to Elevated Martial Arts in Pennsylvania, Sharpsville, Pennsylvania. It's my dad, my brothers, and his lovely wife's gym. They're awesome out there. If you want to talk about good, competitive, world-class jiu-jitsu, check them out. And then I want to thank my sponsors, BJJ Tees. They've been with me for quite some time. Absolutely love them. Apex Dental Labs. They have great mouth guards, custom mouth guards if you want to check them out. And yeah, my husband for being there always for me. Love that man. I wouldn't be where I'm at without him. He's been a big staple in my career on and off the mat. It's like he's made me the person I am today, strong, resilient, determined woman that I am. So it takes two to tango, and that man's like my yin to my yang. So